I'd like to call the meeting, Daniel Town Council meeting to order for Monday, January 6th, 2020. John has not asked to be excused, but he may need to be excused with regards to, he had some health issues over the holiday, but doing fine and thought he'd be here this evening, and he still may show up a little bit late. So, with that being said, the first item is a very important item. We're going to do the swearing in of the new council members. And I'd like to turn the time over to Mary, and we'll have it be Mary Schneider and Mary, and let that swearing in.
We both go same time, yeah?
We've done both ways.
Which way do you want to go?
Do it both together.
Whichever way you want to do
There
it.
he is.
We're ready.
Oh, great.
Oh, you want us to read it? Okay.
Right hand. Together?
You want to do it together?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
So I'm going to meet shirt on.
I, Mary Funker, do solemnly swear
that
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Doesn't have a place for me to sign, just you. You want that, huh?
Yep.
File that.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy you're back.
Congratulations.
Look at you. We're so glad to see you.
Oh, I'm not here.
Mark, you all right?
We're getting there.
So we made it. I'm just wrapping up for you. May or may not make it. I knew you were trying going to.
Okay, so can I have the floor?
Yep.
Okay.
Put them over there.
Okay, I just, being that I'm on the council, I am putting up my disclosure for potential conflicts of interest that the public will be able to view. I'm putting that on. I am also doing a public disclosure for a relative, employee of the town of Daniel. So those will be on file at the town if anybody wants to see, but any potential conflicts that I'm aware of.
Any other?
Can I do one?
You got one more here?
Oh, sorry. Hey, I, Shelby Bunker, need to do this public disclosure because Eric sits up here, and so mine will be on. Also, see where I'm going.
Great. As always, if we'll have some public comment here, if there's any issues that are not on the agenda for this evening, any communication, anything that people would like to say to the council, would like you to come up and state your name for record purposes. So I'd like to go to item number 2, any public comment that might not be on the agenda this evening. Okay, and item number 3, which should be here this evening, so we'll bump that back a little bit. Oh, there we go. Didn't hear the door.
Oh my heck.
You are on. So we'd like to,
My clocks must be slower.
presentation from Gilbert and Stewart for fiscal year 2019, our town audit. So good time over then.
Okay.
Thank you.
What timing, sorry.
Perfect.
I tried to get out of here, the office.
Thank you.
I will be quick.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. My name's Ben Probst. I'm with Gilbert and Stewart, CPAs at Provo. And we do have an office here in Heber also. So this year for the town of Daniel, the state requires an audit if the city or town has more than 100 or more than $1 million of revenue or expenditures. We didn't meet that, and so we stepped down. Then they go from 100,000 to 350. Requires an agreed upon procedure, and so that's what we have prepared here because we're in the middle of there. And I believe that's what we did the prior year too for you. And in that, the state has certain requirements that we have to test. And that's basically the first part of this report. Shows the various areas that we test in the financial survey. And the financial survey is the financial statements for the town as of the end of June 30th, 2019, and that's at the back, and I'll go over that in a minute. But first, I'll just go through this procedures. And so there's some, they have us look at general things, and they have us look at some of the revenues and disbursements, and then do some disbursements testing on disbursements and whether or not there's any findings according to what the state wants to have in place. As we went through that, there was one finding, which is near the back portion. And in the back of the page, this page right here, shows what our finding was, and it has to do with how much we have in our fund balance. The state says that we cannot, our fund balance cannot be over 75% of our revenue. And I look at that as sort of a good, bad finding. It shows that we had more than 75% of our fund balance. And so what they want, they just want you to make sure that you budget accordingly and spend that money, especially where you're collecting money from the taxpayers through taxes and other sources. And so we put a suggestion there to budget accordingly, and sometimes what they do is budget, put the money into a capital projects and future expenditures down the course. And so we were over that 75% limit by $13,102. And I know for a small town going, you don't want to spend more than you make. And so it's common to see that at times. And so if it happens again, and then they'll want to see a resolution of what you're doing to solve that. But this is the first year, and so what you do is just, if you do the budget, or if you have to amend the budget, you just budget expenditures or a transfer to the capital projects. Then the last part is basically the financial survey, showing our balance sheet, basically our net position for both the general fund, the capital projects fund, and the water fund combined. That's the last. Shows our assets, our liabilities, and our fund balance in that respect. Basically, our largest, our bond is our largest. You know, we're making those payments every year in the water fund, and so that's coming down this year. The last page is the revenue and expenses. It shows that in the governmental fund we had $312,000 of revenue and $162,000 in the water fund. We spent more than in the water we spent $172,000. So we spent more than we received, but part of that has to do with depreciation on infrastructure. So your cash probably increased in the water fund because the depreciation is a non-cash expenditure. So it helps set aside money for future repair in that respect. The last part is just shows the capital, the government fund of what your infrastructure is, which isn't reported on the balance sheet. It just shows basically what infrastructure the town has, and we maintain the roads and things like that, and the value there. So with that, you know, we appreciate Mary and Sherry for giving us the information we need to help comply with the state requirements. You know, as the town continues to grow, more expenditures or revenue comes in, and eventually we have an audit. We've done audits in the past, and one thing, you know, some of the developments come in and they receive some capital contributions, that may kick into an audit. But we appreciate the opportunity to provide the service. Do you have any questions? I know it's the first time you look at it, but if you have questions later, you can give me a call, I'd be glad to go over it with you.
Thank you.
So I just got a quick question. Capital replacement, if we was to put that in, would that help us on this end that we're talking about, having, if we do a capital replacement account?
Well, you have a capital projects account fund.
I'm talking about replacement for existing infrastructure.
Well, that's where that would go, is
Is
into
it?
capital projects, and that would help to fund any future projects or replacement of any
Okay,
capital.
all right.
Or you spend it in the calendar year.
Right.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, Ben.
And I apologize for being late.
Perfect, right on, nailed it.
Great, thank you.
Number 4, discussion of Daniel irrigation pipeline. Hugh, we'll turn the time over to you. And Doug, whoever's got.
I think they nominated me, so. Okay, my name's Hugh Barker, and I'm president of the Daniel Irrigation Company, Water Board. Doug Crittenden is vice president, and Phil is a board member. And the reason we're here, we'd like to put a new line down 3000 South, just part of the way from Mill Road down to about 70 or 700 East, somewhere in that area. We'll give you some maps. And the yellow lines that's on that, it's kind of a faded yellow line, is where our lines are currently. And the reason we're trying to run it down 3000, or we'd like to run it down 3000, is there's a new subdivision going in. It's Heber Meadows North. If you can see that yellow line's going right through a bunch of lots. And we don't furnish any water to Heber Meadows, or we will not furnish to Heber Meadows North. So it's kind of a line out in the middle of nowhere, serving nobody. That's part of the Daniels irrigation. And the blue line is, right now, is what the new developers in that vacant field next to her, they'd run it down the middle of the road, and they'd pay for that. But what we're proposing is that they'd give us the money, and we'd use the money to run it down 3000 South. And it'd get it out of Heber City, but all that's in Heber City. And we'd increase the line size, and basically give us new lines. It'd help pressure in some of them areas there. Plus it'd be a new line, and I think it would be a benefit to the irrigation company and to the shareholders that are along that area, plus some that's down lower. And we'd just like permission to run it down 3000. At the time we did this map, the people who did this map thought that your culinary line was on the north side, or they thought it was on the south side, so they drew it on our line on the north. But it's going to have to be reversed, so ours will be on the south side, because the culinary line is on the north side of the road. And there is a gas line on the south side, and there's some phone cable. I see some cable lines there over on but somewhere through there, I'm sure there's a place to run it that's not in the asphalt, it's out in the shoulder of the road. That's what we propose to.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, that was my question, is where the utilities were at, but now I know.
You know, from what our previous discussion were, I think if we could tighten up some of the loose ends that we discussed previous, we'd be able to look at seeing how this would work for everybody. So that's kind of how I would feel about it.
No, when you say the loose ends, what are you exactly referring to on that?
We can discuss that out.
Okay, all right.
Turn that over, it's easier. This is
No.
Mill Road. So you're just gonna cap this line off where right here?
Yeah, the developers will cap that off.
Right here.
There's kind of a blown up section, I think, on the next page of
Is there?
that, that's where we've capped off.
it's off.
Oh, that's off the map, that's a 3,000 map. They capped it off there, and we capped it down on the bottom of their property, on the west side of that property.
Okay. So we'll just cap it off here on Hill Road, and then cap it off here.
You did it, this-
Yes.
this line.
Yeah, that yellow line is existing in place right now.
Oh, okay.
And we just abandoned that yellow line, and we wouldn't put in that new blue line, wouldn't have developers. We take the money it's costing them, and then put it towards coming down 3,000.
Yeah.
That way, then we'd like to get everybody that's on that road, including like John, to get individual turnouts off that main line like the CEG has throughout the rest of the
Yeah,
valley.
that's right, your house, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right where you're at.
So Hugh, is this the only section that you're proposing to
Right
upgrade
now, yeah. There is a new line that, I think they come before you a couple months ago, 3 months ago, of a grant we're trying to get to replace all the transite pipe that's in the irrigation system. We're trying to, and it's like a $3 million grant. There's a lot of hoops they gotta jump through, but it'll be a good thing for the irrigation company if we can get some more money. It's a 75-25 cost share participation with the federal government, so if we got a $3 million grant, we still have to come up with $700,000, but we're looking at other ways to get some others out from DEQ and other places to help us fund that. Something we'd have to come up with funds.
So,
When would this project take place, when the loose ends get?
As soon as weather, as soon as the weather
for that one, too.
permits this spring, that's
Spring.
kind of work. We'd like to have it done before spring comes, before we turn the water in April.
Okay,
And we've got a couple different bids on it already. So, yeah, we're kind of ready to go and get some permission from the council.
This doesn't look like it would disrupt too many driveways or,
You know, there's probably need to be a little more discussion because it's very simple what they're gonna do. But yeah, there are those issues and other right-of-ways, of future uses that may be there that we probably need to talk about and whatnot, but they wanted to come present it today.
well, fair line is always a good thing.
Yeah, so there will be 3 road crossings. There will be one on Mill Road, one at Timp View, and one at Rancho. And I think there's 3 driveways, a couple that's asphalt and a gravel one. I think John's is gravel, and
So it'll be on the south side of it.
it'd be on the south side of that.
Okay.
so there wouldn't be a tip crossing if it's
Pardon?
on the south side? There wouldn't be a tip view crossing if it's on the south side?
No, yeah, because we got to tie into that line
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, we gotta cross.
Got it, got it.
over there. We're going around a 4-inch line, just over them 4 homes that's in there. We want to start it off in the, they come through some property of them other landowners in the back. It's kind of a messed up deal in the back there. So we abandoned that line. It's in their backyards.
Ready for a motion?
Ready for motion?
I make a motion that we continue this and start working on the agreement, put together the agreement for this line. If we can have DNO draft that agreement.
All be work out.
If council interested, we can certainly look at the alignments and details a lot closer. You know, but before when we talked, it was more of a conceptual, are we, you know, yes or no? So you can move forward with
I
details.
kind of like maybe another meeting, maybe down at Ryan's this time, just to kind of clarify what we're talking about.
Okay.
From loose ends and whatnot, and if we could get that scheduled too, then that would, probably do that as soon as we can too.
You want a draft agreement? I guess we'll have discussion on the motion.
Yeah, what type of agreement that should be or not, you know.
Yeah.
You know, local, whatever type of agreement we might need to put together in the wording for that, but I would think that should be able to be put together.
So could you restate the motion?
The motion is to continue this and to start working on the agreement with TNO.
I'd second that.
There's a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Item number 5, discussion of Highway 40 and Highway 189 agreement access location. Turn it over to Eric. Throw on all the forwards and backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards and side we had to go on this, but discuss it again.
Okay. What we want to do is make you aware that UDOT is currently looking at putting a light at 3000 South and 189. So we're under, we've been to couple of meetings regarding our highway corridors. We also have another access point on Highway 40 that was, it's a milepost marker 20. And so the town of Independence came to the meeting and wanted to move that further south. And so we looked at what we have, and right across about from Ed Houston's driveway is about as far as we can go without jeopardizing the spacing of the future signalized intersections that we have. So we're able to tweak it a little bit because they have a certain amount of footage, 1,650 feet or.
They would like us to tweak it a lot more than can be tweaked.
Yes, and so they've asked us to see how far we could go. I went out and looked at it, and I think that's about as far as I think that we would like to go without jeopardizing Little Sweden Road for a future signalized intersection. The town only has 3 exits to the town, so that will become another one right there that we'll have access to. But they want to make sure that that lines up so it's a 4-way as these come to signalized intersections. So I guess what we're asking the council is what's your feelings on it? What's our leeway to go?
And just to add a little bit more to that, so through the course of the meetings with the county and Beaver City, and Independence didn't show up, now they want it moved. Eric had studied quite hard and put a section that we thought, when we made the agreement, at a mile marker just shy of 20, and it works for our grounds. And now Independence wanted to move that a little bit, so there are some grounds to move, and that's kind of what he's bringing up. If does the council have any feel on any way we would proceed on keeping it where we planned after 1.5 years, or moving it to help accommodate a little bit another municipality?
I'm trying to visualize that. You say there already is an access?
In the agreement, there's an access.
In the agreement, we put one
Future
on Highway
possible
40.
access.
And you say you could move it to the Ed Houston driveway.
Right, so this would
That's
be,
a landmark I'm familiar with.
okay, so yeah, this is Ed Houston's driveway. Milepost 20 would be right here. Okay, and so that's halfway between the Mill Road intersection and Little Sweden. And so we took that halfway point at milepost 20 because UDOT tells us that that is as close as we can have a signalized intersection. We can have other intersections, but they're right in, right out. So it keeps the flow going. And so what they've asked us to do is move this from 20. They would like to be clear down here, because the town of Independence is bringing a road down and they want to come in like that. And so all this would be, in their plan, this is all commercial here. And then this is their main road that goes on up into Independence. And so what we've asked them, when they've came to us, they want to know how far down we can come south to accommodate that. And we're just like, well, just push us down to 20. Well, they said that because of that, their property actually does one of those, and they said this becomes worthless to them. So they want to fill this with residential, so the further they can get that way, that's what their plan shows here. Mixed-use commercial and residential.
Mike?
If you move it down that far, does that preclude ever having a signalized intersection at Little Sweden?
Right now, UDOT says if we don't go too far, then they'll be able to work with that. That 20's the set thing, but if we want to work with that, by the way, Ed Houston, this is 250 feet from milepost marker 20 to Ed Houston's driveway. So they said that's doable for them, for UDOT. It was a preliminary meeting. That's where we ended up. Wasatch County was there, Heber City was there, UDOT, and Independence. And Mountain Lands Association of Government, Robert was there too. So that's what we're asking, is if 250 feet is too far, it won't jeopardize our signalized intersections. It's a good point to bring up, because that's what we didn't want to do, is jeopardize that. And that's why we put that in at 20. I'm like, put it in there while we're here doing this agreement. So, and
That's kind of hard to get that in there, but he did.
it was tough. It's tough to do anything.
So do you know if they're planning any sort of an access road situation on either side?
They are not. We are.
And does that mess that up at all?
It doesn't, because the one that, and this is way down the road, and I hate to even put the line on there.
No, we gotta look ahead.
So if this is Little Sweden Road coming down here, and then this was the Mill Road, right? So what we plan on doing is we have the third property here, which is Trinnell's. We have the storage units here. So we're thinking of bringing a road in through off of this road, coming along the back of this, not lining up with 3000 South, but dropping that in about where Gordon's is, Joe Gordon's, so that this hits a T intersection and doesn't become a fly-through down 3000 South. So we've kind of eliminated that with the T, making that a through thing. I mean, if you go to these meetings, they want to blow 3000 South right up to the highway. I mean, that's,
And the independents could not understand why we wouldn't push all of the traffic down Little Sweden. And well, that's gonna get wide, and you know, they want that access, and it's like, that's really not gonna happen, but they do want it, by the way.
so if we push this road down to here, and it winds up, then we would have the ability to hook this into a frontage road here. And be able to, we have a commercial in some of these areas 300 feet back already. I would assume that as this develops that will become commercial to both sides of that road a little bit and kind of a buffer along. Our general plan speaks to those along the highway corridors is where we're gonna put our commercial, where we have quite a few, we have a few people that wanna put high density residential in, and I think that it belongs in those commercial zones, close access to the highway, and it really doesn't impact a lot of different areas. So we haven't talked about that, so, but that's like 2040, it's out there a ways, but we're at 2020, we didn't think we'd make it there either, so.
The crystal ball has still got snowflakes falling in it, but that's kind of what we've seen what may build out in the future.
I think it's great.
Nobody hit me with a rock, so.
Didn't have any.
Now, a lot of thought went into that as well. Any other questions from anyone? Okay.
So I guess really what we're asking is what the council's feelings are on that 250 feet. I think that's doable, but that's just me. I'm asking you.
If you can get them to agree to it, yeah, and if they've agreed to it.
You can hold them to the 20 if you want. The agreement's there. We
Or
made that with UDOT.
Yeah.
Well, the agreements with who? With Independence or with UDOT?
We've all signed it.
Everybody except for Independence.
Heber City signed it, county signed it, we signed it.
Is
So-
UDOT willing to say that does not preclude Little Sweden and 40? If you
Yes.
If you move that 50?
They are
Absolutely.
standing behind their
You'll
agreement
put it in black and
100%.
white?
Yes.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
said it
as long
verbally
as
in the
it's
meeting
black.
and everything.
I would not let them slide without it.
I don't want that one on a piece of paper.
Ruin that.
I'm a 20 mark myself. I don't, you know, if they would have come and kind of worked and had some interest in it, they chose not to come for a year and a half, and we played around with lots of footages and made that work. I don't know that we need to accommodate them for the 250 feet, but if the council feels that that's necessary, great. I don't know that it would, it's already set at 20, and they know it's set at 20. And I'd like to see it at 20 myself.
Is there anything, if you move it, is there any negotiating about anything that Independence could do for Daniel?
No, they're really letting the developer drive this, who is Millstream.
The exact words
And they're
were, they're
driving this
very,
and they're-
very, very important
Keep it at
plans, and we
20.
want to keep them happy right in the meeting.
So they're letting the developer drive it. They really didn't have any concrete answers for us until they got there. Like I said, they would like to be clear down at 22, so they'd like to go down quite a bit further. Or 21.5 or something, I think. But, I mean, 250 feet, you can pick up a rock. I was standing at the 20, I can pick up a rock and hit the driveway. It's within that close, so. But it's,
250 feet, I want to see that.
Slingshot.
okay.
Hell, right.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, all right.
Well, let's get some direction, so we go back to the meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we talked about it, no result.
Council, yeah, no, that's good. I'm ready to go move on. Is there any,
I think it would be just safe at our town to keep it at 20.
you know, they can move the road as easy as anything else. They have their reasons why they wouldn't want to move it. They chose not to participate in the planning. I don't know why we need to accommodate. Any other comments or discussions, and maybe take a motion on it?
Yeah, I think we definitely have a motion. Then we can go back and say we talked to council.
I make a motion to keep the access agreement at the 20-mile marker on Highway 40.
Okay, you have a motion to keep it at, access at 20.
I'll second that.
You have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye,
We have one opposed, motion passes.
I can say I voted against it, but
Yes, you
there it
can.
is.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, Daniel Resolution. It's written right now as DR 2019-12-12A. Is that the resolution now?
If you'd like.
Yep.
I would make a request that we change the resolution number so that it reflects actually 2020-01-06. And that would be in line and consistent with what we've done in the past as far as appointments of the planning commission members. And it should be just a simple effect.
Okay. Council, any discussion or reason why we should or shouldn't amend this resolution?
So is that a motion?
No, is that a motion?
I was just making a suggestion, but I would make a motion if that's required. I would make that motion.
Okay. Anybody have any? Mary? Talk to you.
I've already documented it, so.
Okay. I'll take a motion on it and we'll get it changed. And we'll move it.
You want to take a vote?
I second that. Oh,
Okay.
There you go.
go.
First and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. So the DR 2020-01-06, effective date January 6, 2020. Short title, resolution reappointing Danieltown Planning Commission member for a 4-year term to run from January 2020 to January 2024. The purpose of this resolution is to reappoint Danieltown Planning Commission members who have agreed to continue to serve on the commission and who have agreed to abide by the ordinances established by the Town of Daniel Council and by the bylaws established by the Danieltown Planning Commission. Resolution be resolved and approved by the Danieltown Council that the following persons, seat 1, Gary Wade, seat 2, Brent Waterman, and seat 5, Pam Skinner, should continue to serve on the Planning Commission for another 4-year term, which shall run from January 2020 to January 2024. Any questions or discussion on that?
So you was right, we had one name out of order, and so we've corrected that with Brent Waterman in seat number 2.
Any discussion, Chair, I'll entertain a motion?
And Gary Wade is still willing to serve.
Yeah, I send out,
Bless his heart.
he would love to quit if somebody else would butt
He's been
in.
there from the beginning.
We're gonna quit for about 15 years.
There's a whole bunch of people like to
Oh,
quit if
my
somebody else would butt in.
Well, he deserves a medal, I'll tell you.
It's been a long time, doing a great job.
He's really an asset to us on that.
Thanks.
He does a lot of homework, and so all of our members of planning are fantastic. I'm impressed with how much we get done.
No discussion, Chair, I'll entertain a motion on that.
For this resolution? Okay, I make a resolution that we approve make a motion that we approve this resolution with the new numbering 200106, and that we strike from the record our resolution last month.
Second?
We have a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Resolution. Business licenses. No new licenses apparently. We have some renewals for Joe Bonner Haircutting, Computer Nerds, and Wes's Auto. Take it that we have not had any complaints on those.
We have not had any complaints that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any comment or discussion from the council on that? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to renew those business licenses.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second?
Yeah, I second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, discuss and set a public hearing for gun sanctuary town. I don't know if anyone were able to pick up the ordinance what we're here to do is to schedule a public hearing to discuss the ordinance that we'd like to get into place. And so, we're looking for a date that we can get that scheduled for. And we can do it next meeting. We need that combined, maybe that might work, maybe not, to save time.
We can do that.
Council have any preferences?
Well, before we set a public hearing, can you just give us a little background about why we're going to think about doing this?
As I mentioned to you earlier, I would think that it's pretty important with today, I feel it's pretty important today, the way that our Constitution is being looked at and the way that this particular issue is being looked at in the nation, that we would not want to be behind the 8 ball. I'm somebody who'd like to be in the front of the 8 ball and make sure that our residents are protected in a way that they want to. I've had people comment on it, and I would think that public discussion would be good on it for the town. So I'd like to see that happen, that we can be a gun sanctuary town, that you know, people don't have to worry that right now we're a little freer than some of the municipalities with regards to gun use in the town. This, I believe, will be a good discussion, and I think the town is, there's a lot of gun owners in the town that I think might be interested in this. We'll find out. Any other discussion or comments?
Well, I don't disagree with your philosophy here. I'm just wondering if this is an issue that needs to be taken up at this time. I mean, are you responding to feedback that you've had from citizens?
I would
Or
say
is
that
this-
whether, there's no rush. It just came up and, was there something more important than this than you want to discuss or not? Or?
Well, no, I'll tell you what, though. Wasatch County and some of our municipalities in Wasatch County have made national news in the last year or two, and I've watched other areas of the country set up gun sanctuary
Support of 1,000%.
ordinances.
Yep.
You're talking about resolution here, but they've done ordinances. They've made national news, and I don't know. We don't have our own law enforcement agency. We're dependent on Wasatch County. And so I certainly want to, find out how our sheriff feels, how our law enforcement feels about what they might want to accommodate if we did do this. Now, this is all the things that we would do in a public discussion, yes, in a
Correct.
public hearing. But what I just wanted to talk about tonight was, are you feeling that there's some pressure?
Not at all. Like I say, I want to be in front of it, and I like what the other states and the other counties have done. I think we ought to.
Well, like I say, I'm a gun owner, and I don't know anybody that's not a gun owner, so
Right.
I'm sure there is a lot of support for
We're
this.
anti-gun in this crowd.
I've seen.
Okay, I think I'm done here.
I'm just seeing from a national governors down to counties to everybody that this is starting to be an issue for them. And, you know, there's no magical day to day to do it as much as it came up.
Is there anything in Utah moving with other counties or any kind of movement? I mean,
Do you know, I don't know, and we may very well be the first one.
I haven't heard about any. I'd like to see what's gonna happen in Virginia. I'd like to see what's gonna happen there.
Well, when he puts 250,000 in the state budget to go after the individual, so the governor has put in the state budget $250,000 to go after all those who don't turn the guns
You're
in.
talking about Virginia now.
I am talking about
Yeah,
Virginia
not
now,
Utah.
not Utah. I don't want to be in that position, be in Utah. People have commented, it's on the agenda. Would the council like to have a public discussion on it and move it to public hearing? And if so, we'd get a date set.
Are you afraid of being on the news?
Well, listen, Wasatch County was just ridiculed for having $1 billion.
Well, oh, okay.
Waldsburg didn't hold elections. Let's see.
Happens every year.
I don't even equate that to the same thing as this.
But it was national news. And then, a plane ran off the runway the other
Yeah,
day.
that was on-
National news.
yes, it was.
So I can just see it, Daniel, town of Daniel, 1,000 people. No, like I say, I'm not opposed to
Hopefully
this.
I will,
just-
hopefully, hopefully this will, in my opinion, is what I'm trying to say, get lots of others to do it.
Lots of others, okay.
Other municipalities, other counties, I don't think
Well,
we've
we're
seen the
just
end of this.
holding a public hearing. I mean, we're not
Right.
making any decisions,
No,
correct?
not tonight.
I think that
That's
we need to hear
that's the
about.
reasoning for it.
I'm okay with moving forward with it, and we can hear what, you guys need to show up and tell us what you think.
I make a motion that we open it up for a public hearing on the Second Amendment.
A motion to hold a public hearing. Do you have a second?
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And what date would the council like to be able to have that? Next council meeting?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
Council meeting
Get
next
it
month.
done.
On the agenda? Derek, got soon enough, too late?
Yeah, 14 days.
That'll work next month.
Is that correct, Mayor?
Discuss acquisition of Daniel Water shares. That's on our agenda each month to, if that opportunity arises, we want to have on the agenda to be able to make a decision. I haven't heard of anything coming down as far as that. Any council member? Okay.
I have a question. You're aware of the state engineer's office re-adjudicating all the water rights.
Uh-huh.
They're holding a meeting at the senior center on January 14th. And I think this does affect some people in Wasatch County. Do you know if it's, I mean, this doesn't affect Daniel yet, but at some point, maybe Hugh can answer this question. Have they given you any?
We haven't received notice of it yet. We're still in Utah County doing it. Midway will be the first in this valley that gets it, and they haven't received notice of it.
Midway just got notices.
So January 14th, they're having a meeting at the senior center to discuss
Yeah,
some of these issues.
That's for the Midway book. The Daniel book will follow the Midway book, so I would
They think
anticipate 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Could you
Month-
state your
month
name?
later.
Roger Pearson.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering if we would want to wait and find out what happens with the region. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, you know, if the shares are going to lose.
Get a haircut or something on
Yes.
diversion and things?
So I'm just wondering how that's going to affect any shares that we
There's been
might buy.
There's been discussion about it, and right now that the field that the municipality being the most important water use, that
True.
those would be nice to have in hand and not get a haircut if they possibly were to get a haircut. So that's, yeah, those municipalities that wouldn't get a haircut. good in a diversion situation, but we're still gonna be able to save any water shares if in fact, and we only do need them over time.
Price, I don't know, it's, I don't know, that's why I'm asking the question.
And
if
we
we
just
had-
started, yep,
Uh-huh.
could affect the price, we kinda,
Can you give us any more information,
Yeah,
Roger?
Roger can.
Yeah, so the way the adjudication works is they're gonna look at every water right. The Daniel Irrigation Company owns the water right. And so when the adjudication comes, Daniel Irrigation Company will be responsible for filing the user claim with the state, with the courts, basically. And that user claim will be their claim to their water right. And so they have to show, the company has to show beneficial use as explained in their water right. And that, based on the diligence claim, is 1,800 acres of irrigation. And so the only exemptions from that are an approved change application. And so that's wells in the town that are using Daniel shares. And if they've been approved by the state's change application process, then they're protected from forfeiture, as long as they're still in development. If it's a certificated water right, then you'll have to show beneficial use of that. Meaning, if your well is for a home, quarter acre of irrigation and some livestock units of irrigation, then you'll have to show beneficial use of all of those types of uses. And it could be any combination of those. If a municipality owns a water right, and they are a municipal water supplier, then they are protected from forfeiture as long as they either acquired the water right or the shares prior to 2008, or if it's under an approved change application as well. And so any shares that...
however, the Heber City's going on their changes, right?
That's right. Yeah, so other municipalities are moving forward on filing change applications on shares that they acquired for wells and other, sources of supply that they acquired after 2008. So Heber City's doing that. They're working on Timpanogos shares that they own, Wasatch shares that they own. And the reason they're doing that is because they acquired those after 2008. And so the town, and I don't know if it would be the municipal water company, would, if the town owned it, if the town and the municipal water company were two separate entities, I'm not entirely certain that the town is protected from forfeiture. And so the town, if the town acquires shares, they need to show a beneficial use, which is irrigation, domestic, livestock, whatever, they need to show that they're using that water so that they're protected from forfeiture. If a municipal water supplier is different than a town. A town doesn't necessarily qualify as a municipal water supplier as two separate entities. So that's just kind of a really brief description on
Good info.
protection from forfeiture. In the end, the irrigation company is going to be responsible for the water right. If the company gets cut, meaning if they can only show 1,700 acres instead of 1,800 acres, and they get cut 100 acres of irrigation, then the irrigation company will be responsible for figuring out how to either share that equally among the shares, or, so they have to share it equally among the shares, or they have the option to cut shares from the company that were the result of forfeiture. So if I owned 100 shares and I was just sitting on them, not using them, and I was the result of the company losing 100 shares, they could take my shares and leave everybody else whole. So it'll be up to the company to decide how that all shakes out. Because as a shareholder, you're not a water right holder. You're just a shareholder in a company that owns a water right. So the shares are going to be ultimately decided by the courts, or the water right will be decided by the courts, and then if the company gets cut, the company will then have to decide
How to reallocate.
how to redistribute water.
Are you guys concerned about showing the 1,800 usage, or?
And we don't have that much, we've mapped it out, we're at 1650, but we are using all the water that we can out of the Daniels Creek, which is our water right. Then out of the Jordanelle is a contract water right, which really don't play into that. The CUP has to show the water use on that, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it'll be, because it's a federal water right, it won't be subject to
Yeah.
the adjudication. The 2,900 acre feet.
Yeah, so we don't have enough water as it is in our contract water right to furnish these 1,600 and some acres. Oh, and then we got legal counsel of Clyde Snow that's going to kind of go to bat for us, which is, they've been doing a lot in Utah County, so they're pretty familiar with everything on it.
Thanks, Roger.
That, we do have a change application or to file on our shares when the time is right, and I know we've talked about it, we've set it up, we haven't filed it because as we're actively buying shares, the number of shares was in flux, so it's sitting there ready to go. Sounds like in 4 or 5 weeks, maybe the time that we want to go ahead and pull the trigger, because we've done those in the past, and then we bought, we've acquired other shares, and so we've been just kind of waiting as the number of shares was in flux. And so something we do need to work out is we're using some of them from our municipal system to serve, and so that point of diversion is pretty clear. We're using others that we've obtained, but we're still using them through the Daniel Irrigation Network to supply irrigation. And so how many of them we want to change versus what shares we want to just own in the company, since that's where they're being serviced, is a discussion we'll need to have in the next month or so, it sounds like.
It sounds like if any of them we want to have in the municipal water system, we should change that over from Town of Daniel to Daniel Municipal Water.
And that's where I've got the application with the section, all the paperwork's ready. The one thing that was missing was 1 share or 10 shares or 5 shares, or based on how many shares we might buy, since we were actively buying. I held off on filling out that one part, and then we can get the signatures and file it. The one question I had that we need to work through is, we own shares that are still being serviced for irrigation by the irrigation company, and we may not want to transfer those, because we don't want to change the points of diversion if we're still using the old point of diversion. And so we may own, just making up numbers, 10 shares, but want to transfer 8, leave 2 in the company, depending on what the numbers look like. And I looked at those once, we'll need to look at it again here soon.
I think one other thing to add is, as you go through the change application process, that essentially is adjudication, right? So whether you go through the change application process now or during adjudication, they're gonna do the exact same thing. The change application process is going to adjudicate that water right, or that share. And I think the critical part of that is, when you go through the change application process, the state is gonna ask, where have these shares been used? So basically, what's gonna die? So if we take this water and move it into a well, if it's 8 shares, what 2 acres is gonna die because of this, right? Or where are we moving this from? What are we drying up? And so that's essentially what adjudication is gonna do, number one, and that's what your change application is gonna do as well. So it may or may not, you definitely want to go through the change application process, but whether you do it the day they send out summons, it may not make a difference.
The thought was, you mentioned 1,600 acre feet or 1,600 acres versus the 18. Filing that could help justify some of that was kind of the logic, but you're right,
As long as it's
change applications come all the time.
as long as it's an approved change application. The change application approval process can take anywhere between 6 weeks and 6 months, So I think the key is making sure that those shares are being put to beneficial use. If they're held by a municipal water supplier, you're maybe a little more safe, as long as you can show that, we are gonna need those shares. We'll get on the process of filing a change application, because the adjudication process, the decision could come down from the courts that, hey, Daniel Municipal, we see those shares, file a change application. That could be the decision, but it's ultimately up to the courts to decide that, so.
Lynn?
How do those of us on a different irrigation company, Timpanogos specifically, fit into this big picture?
Same guy.
Yeah, it's gonna be the exact same process, except that your company will get adjudicated most likely 2 months after Daniel. And so, because your company's version is up in the Jordanelle Basin, so it'll go Midway, Daniel, Lake Creek, and then Jordanelle.
And that's both Timp and Wasatch, right?
That's right. And the way it'll work is everyone in that area will get a letter. So whether you own a water right or not, you'll get a letter. Every homeowner, every property will get a letter. And then if you own a water right, you'll also get a summons. And that, I mean, it'll look just like a court summons to submit a water claim. If you're a shareholder, don't do anything. You don't need to worry about it, except to work with the company and make sure that your shares are being put to use like you think they are. And the company and you are on the same page, you know. But a shareholder doesn't need to do anything. If you own a well, water right, a spring, you know, any other water right, then you will have to submit a user claim, or else you're subject to lose that water.
And you say Daniel's supposed to be in the next 4 weeks or so?
That's what they plan, about a month,
Okay.
and we just got some of the Midway notices last week. So,
Okay, thank you.
So as we hook these people on, that's what we're requiring in is some water to be placed so we can take more out of the wells.
yeah, and that's what you need to show as a municipal water supplier. Like I said, you may not be under the same protections as a town. The town won't be the same as a municipal water supplier.
Any questions?
Should be clear to mud.
It's not now, it'll be clear soon, hopefully. Shelley, on number 10, Daniel Municipal Water, any issues that have?
Let's see, we're having a lot of move out, move in, so I've been on my foot a lot with keeping up with the idle companies, you know, dealing with all those. But that is helping with a lot of the past due because they have to have it paid before. So that comes out of the title
I
company.
know that came down a little bit on this last
Yes,
report.
yep, so that kind of, the move outs is kind of working in our favor. I'm getting ready to go to training, just reminding you that it is the end of February. And as I'm studying, I'm realizing I'm old, but I'll do the best I can. So, and I've had a lot of questions on the water rights, a lot of calls asking, okay, if you're still buying, and do you do well rights also? Are you buying well rights or just water?
Good question. Let's talk about well rights.
Okay, and then my other question, and maybe these guys can help, I get a lot of irrigations and questions of what to do, and I am now sending them to Hugh Barker because I've heard Central Utah Water is mean and will not talk to people. So
mean.
I mean, I've had about 10 people call me and tell me they'd never call them again, that they was treated very poorly. And I'm like, don't want to tell them who my husband works for.
Good to know.
That's, I told Eric, who do I complain to without getting in trouble?
Nobody.
Nobody, exactly. So anyway, so I finally have just quit calling, tell them to go to Central, because I thought those two was working kind of together. But obviously you're not, are you working together or just send them to Hugh?
We try to help out where we can, honestly. If there's things we can do, otherwise, if there's questions we can't answer, we send them to the irrigation company.
Okay.
Or send them to me.
Okay, I'm just gonna send it to you, Hugh, is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Eric
fine.
gave me
Absolutely.
Eric gave me your phone number, and I hope that was okay. So I'll just send them to you. Okay, and I think other than that, everything's been going well. I haven't heard, like I said, from Ryan, I haven't heard from people. It's been awesome.
Good.
I have one thing that I wanted to bring up. Because of our prior